Letitia James is freaking out. Letitia James is running out of cash there in New York. Oh gosh, what are they going to do if they don't have the money to go after Donald Trump? I don't know. And so she's panicking. She's filing new motions. This just came out in part because she's so stressed about these money problems because, well, Pam Bondi is not only a thorn in AOC's side, she is a definite thorn in one Letitia James's side. So the AG has said, oh, we were preparing for this, we were preparing for this, we were preparing for this. But apparently you weren't prepared enough because already you have lacked success. And now she's filing a second motion in order to go back at the judge and see if she can find a new workaround here. Pam Bondi has ordered the DOJ to pause all federal funding for sanctuary cities because if you have people like Letitia James sitting there saying, hey, we have our green light laws, we don't have to abide by your laws, well then this gets into somewhat murky territory, right? So she's freaking out and she, as such, just filed a second motion for enforcement in their ongoing lawsuit against the Trump administration for what they call, quote, illegal and destructive freeze on federal funding. But here's the question, is it really illegal? In other words, if you're so out of step with everything that's going on, are you really actually, as the federal government, do they have a right to say, hey, we're going to hold you accountable? In other words, we've already seen that some judges are very reluctant, if you would, to make a decision on this. And so it's getting kicked around. That certainly gives him the benefit of time. And it also suggests that, well, in the meantime, she's going to be up a creek without a paddle. So we got the news, was it last week or the week before? It's kind of blurring together after a while. This does this to you, right? This Trump news cycle. But we learned that the judge was like, no, sorry, they can, for example, go forward, DOJ can go forward and they can get the information on federal employees and look for opportunities for budget cuts. And now the other biggie is whether or not the administration can continue here blocking hundreds of millions of dollars that have come in grants for federal emergency management agency challenges, etc. So this is sort of setting up a very interesting legal challenge. And I think people come out on two different sides of the law, but I would say that ultimately one of the biggest problems for Letitia James and the reason that she's running out of money is that you're going to have sort of more junior judges that are going to be reluctant to rule against the president. Think about this, guys. What is actually in his way? Well, the threat of impeachment, I guess, but he's got the whole Congress and he's got the Senate. I mean, heck, he just got everybody he wanted. He got Tulsi, he got Pete, he got Kash Patel. So do you really think that anybody in Congress is going to stand in the way? And if he's saying, you know what, turn off the money spigot because these people are not following federal law, then guess what? They're going to turn off the money spigot. It's kind of like, I was using this example last week during the Zelensky, on Friday during the Zelensky press conference when it was like, Dad was like, hey kid, you know what? No more. We're not supporting this lifestyle. We're not supporting you anymore. You got to get with it. And he's kind of telling New York and other sanctuary states, I mean, look, she's leading the charge here. She's very proud of that. She put this press release out today. Attorney General James and the Attorney Generals of California, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Rhode Island, goes on and on. Also Connecticut, Colorado, Arizona, Delaware, Hawaii, Maine. Basically every blue state has filed a lawsuit. And they're not getting anywhere. I mean, they can keep filing motions and motions and motions, but again, I think judges at this point are very reluctant to interfere with the executive power, knowing that really that would be Congress that would do that. So if Congress is making a decision not to jump in and say, hey, you can't do that, then actually the president does have a lot of power if you think about it. He's the one that has the Treasury Department under him, and all he has to do is tell Scott Bessent, you know what, shut off the money spigot, and it's shut off. And unless they actually get in line, then they're going to have some problems. I mean, it's going to take time, I guess, to work out. Maybe it could go all the way up to the Supreme Court. But gosh darn it, it's almost kind of like they're getting exactly what they deserve, right? Because of everything that we went through. Think about Letitia James and all that she put this country through and all that she put Donald Trump through. You know the drill, right? I mean, she was going after him from day one. it was like her only motivation, her only way perhaps to raise money politically. And so this is what she did, and this is what she talked about. And she went after Donald Trump for something that, frankly, is not something that you can go after him for. And I'm still getting kind of annoyed at the Second Court of Appeals there, if you would, in New York, because they know the answer to this. She had absolutely no business interfering in a private matter between Donald Trump, a customer of Deutsche Bank. So he's the client. He gets a loan from Deutsche Bank. He tells Deutsche Bank that his collateral is Mar-a-Lago. He gives some number that's larger than 18 million, because apparently Letitia James is thinking that it's only worth 18 million, which is probably one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. But let's just start with the premise that she has no business assessing property values, right? She is an attorney. Not a very good one at that, but she has no business assessing property values. That's Deutsche Bank's job. So she got herself in the middle of this one. And now I'm kind of laughing because they threw all this legal stuff at him. And, you had like Stephen Miller and others like sitting there twiddling their thumbs during all this. Well, they weren't twiddling their thumbs. They were working very diligently on all the legal opportunities that could come their way once they were back in charge. And so they've thrown like 75 executive orders out. And Letitia and others just can't keep up with it, right? So the amount of sort of incoming. And so now here she is trying to file something else. And I'm telling you, it's not going to get anywhere. So she's going to get stuck not having any money for New York. And how is that going to make people in New York feel, right? Like if you're not getting those things that maybe you should, you think they're going to blame Donald Trump? No, they're going to blame Letitia James. And you know what? If she doesn't get her act with the program, not only is she going to be voted out of office, but she might actually have some other issues, shall we say, as well. I mean, and that's why I'm so annoyed that the Court of Appeals in New York has not gotten back to us with their verdict. I think that now it's getting into Kash Patel territory and Pam Bondi territory where they actually need to go in and say, listen, this woman did some stuff that really was not okay. And we have to question how much this was in coordination with the Biden White House. Merrick Garland has in the past really avoided those questions. I know that Matt Gaetz from Florida, when he was then in Congress, was really trying to push that issue, and he couldn't quite get Merrick Garland to admit anything that was going on. But it has since come out that, for example, in Georgia, you had Fani Willis's BF, the boyfriend, actually coordinating with the Biden White House on that particular case. So one could anticipate that that was likely happening in New York as well. Alvin Bragg, after all, they sent somebody from the feds to work on his legal team as he was bringing cases forward. None of those cases went anywhere, so they weren't really on good legal ground. And I just wonder if there's going to be some other price for one Ms. Letitia James to pay, as Mike Davis told my friend.
Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term, because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time, and we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights. And I promise you that. So think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
We've been warning people on the show, Mike. This isn't the same Trump administration. Stop messing around. Don't rig elections. Don't illegally vote.
Yeah, I would say that Benny's right. It's not the same Trump administration, because this is an administration that had had 4 years on the sidelines, basically to make sure that they weren't on defense. Don't forget, last time, in some ways, like, this is the beauty of it, right? Had he won in 2020, he would have still been fighting the system over and over and over again, and it would have just been more of the same. And now he comes in, and he's like, I'm not fighting it. I mean, you can fight me all you want. I'm already fighting you, right? Like, he's on offense, and he comes in, 75 executive orders. He puts in tariffs. He tells Mexico, he tells Canada, you guys got to get with the program. He tells New York, you guys got to get with the program. And if everyone gets with the program, then guess what? We're going to have a united country, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to be able to do great things. But if they're not with the program, then we go right back to Pam Bondi ordering a pause on federal funding for those sanctuary cities. And that means that Letitia James, I'm sorry, you're not going to have any money in the state of New York. And Kathy Hochul, you're not going to have any money in the state of New York. Listen, they're going to be in trouble. I mean, constituents are not going to put up with that. Offhand, thank you so much for the generosity. I'm going to get to your comment. I mean, this is really rather revolutionary in that we are really setting up a situation where you have feds versus state. But when it comes down to this one issue, when it comes to the border, the feds have the jurisdiction. When it comes to the money, sure, you can fight it out in court, but it does seem that Congress actually has the control over the executive branch. They're the ones that theoretically would impeach, and you know that there's no way in HELL that's happening. He has the Congress eating right out of the palm of his hand. And so, look, I get it. The left doesn't like him. It's why they lied and lied and lied. It's why we had 51X spooks in the intelligence community saying, forget about Trump. You know what? He's telling you a bunch of lies on Biden's laptop. It never belonged to Hunter. I mean, I'm just like amazed. I keep laughing, and I have to be careful because I have not been feeling well, you guys. I'm still getting over my cold. But you know what does make me very happy? Take a look at our performance. It's just ending for the month. Actually, we just put March's numbers out, and once again, we beat the S&P, which is a big deal. That's sort of what the entire industry is trying to do. And this is just, really smart people like Rob and myself, might I say, and we've been able to beat the S&P yet again. So take a look at the portfolios when you can. I think it would be very, very it would behoove you, shall we say. Use my code, use dollar. At some point, we can't offer that. It's supposed to be a limited time offer, but you know me, I like to give you stuff. So $1 a month for the first 2 months, and it goes to $9.95. But there's lots of names in there for you to look at, specifically within the model portfolios.